Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be looking at a totally vital, rapidly emerging new career path that's addressing an immediate crisis right in our own communities. I mean, if you've been paying any attention to the rising temperatures lately, you know that summer heat is no longer just a minor inconvenience, right? It's becoming a seriously major environmental and structural challenge. So today, we're exploring the role of the summer ventilation and home cooling advisor. It's a highly practical, urgently needed profession right here in the UK. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what this job entails, why it matters so much, and how you could actually step into this role yourself.
Okay, so let's just dive right in and address the elephant in the room. Right now, literally this very week, UK homes are dangerously overheating. And ironically, a lot of this is actually driven by our well-intentioned efforts to stay warm in the winter. Top floor flats, poorly shaded rooms, and especially those homes that have been sealed up super tight after insulation and retrofit upgrades, they're trapping heat like ovens. For a nation that usually spends most of its time complaining about the rain, millions of us are suddenly struggling with indoor summer temperatures that we never saw coming. And honestly, the most alarming part? Most people have absolutely no idea what their actual options are to cool their homes down without just giving up and blasting expensive air conditioning. Now, this is where things completely shift our perspective. As the official gov.uk Beat the Heat guidance warns, we aren't just talking about being a bit uncomfortable here. We are talking about a severe health hazard. When homes overheat, it can worsen existing health conditions and, tragically, it can actually be fatal, especially for vulnerable people. This is essentially an urgent public health crisis quietly unfolding behind closed doors, and it requires immediate, highly knowledgeable intervention to keep people safe. So, who steps in to fix this? Enter the hero of our story, the Summer Ventilation and Home Cooling Advisor. This is the professional who steps up to help residents navigate these really dangerous summer temperatures. They are essentially the essential bridge between complex building science and, well, the everyday person sweating in their living room. An advisor assesses the specific overheating risks of a home and works right alongside the residents to implement smart, totally practical ventilation and cooling strategies. They bring this absolutely necessary mix of technical expertise and genuine human empathy to a situation where people are usually feeling super stressed out and physically exhausted by the heat.
Now, you might be thinking, wow, that sounds like a massive mountain of paperwork. But actually, think again. AI is integrated from day one to handle the heavy lifting of all that repetitive admin. Artificial intelligence basically takes care of drafting the advice reports, organizing the home assessments, and structuring those practical recommendations. And by automating all that routine paperwork, the human advisor is entirely freed up to focus on the conversations that actually need a human touch. Listening to residents, really understanding their specific needs, and offering compassionate, direct support.
Let's walk through what a practical day in the life of an advisor actually looks like. Your core responsibilities? Well, they involve assessing different homes to identify exactly where that overheating risk is coming from. You'll be spending time explaining technical concepts, things like MVHR systems and night purge ventilation, but doing it in a way that actually makes sense to the homeowner. You'll also be advising on really practical interventions, like solar shading, to actively reduce the amount of heat entering the home in the first place. And finally, you'll review and refine those AI-drafted reports we just talked about, just to make sure the resident gets clear, honest, and actionable next steps. A huge part of this gig is basically demystifying the science of cooling for everyday people. You're going to regularly help people understand the fundamental difference between passive ventilation cooling and active air conditioning. Passive cooling is all about working with nature, right? It uses natural airflow and those nighttime temperature drops to cool a home down organically. Active air conditioning, on the other hand, relies heavily on energy and chemical refrigerants to mechanically chill the air. Helping residents grasp this difference is absolutely key to setting realistic expectations and promoting comfortable living that's actually sustainable and energy efficient. As an advisor, you are definitely going to encounter mechanical ventilation with heat recovery, or MVHR systems, quite a bit. Understanding how they work is vital, specifically something called the MVHR summer bypass feature. See, during the winter, MVHR uses the heat from outgoing stale air to warm up the fresh incoming air. But in the summer, that bypass feature kicks in. When outdoor temperatures drop in the evening, the system literally bypasses the heat exchanger, bringing cooler external air directly into the home. It provides this really nice, highly effective, gentle night cooling effect, provided the outdoor conditions are right, of course. But, and this is a big but, we have to be super honest about what MVHR can and cannot do. As the Passive House Trust clearly states, even with that summer bypass active, an MVHR system delivers significantly less airflow than simply opening a window.
It is not an air conditioning system. And it absolutely cannot magically fix a house that's suffering from massive, unmanaged solar heat gain. Being totally upfront about these limitations is exactly what builds trust with the residents you're trying to help. So, because MVHR isn't some magic cure-all, your toolkit needs to be pretty diverse. You'll also be advising on other crucial strategies. For instance, night purge ventilation is incredibly effective at literally flushing built-up heat out of the windows overnight, while the outside air is at its absolute coldest. You'll also run into MEV, or mechanical extract ventilation. That's a simpler system designed to continuously extract warm, stale air from the home, making sure fresh air is pulled in to replace it. Knowing exactly when and how to apply these different methods, that's the real core of your expertise. And this advice isn't just people making educated guesses, it's heavily underpinned by national law. The strategies you'll advocate for are directly tied to UK building regulations, specifically Part O, which deals entirely with overheating mitigation in new residential buildings, and Part F, which dictates that purge ventilation might actually need to operate at a higher capacity, specifically where removing excess heat is the main issue. You're out there providing advice that's backed by the highest standards of building physics. Let's be radically transparent for a second about the day-to-day reality of the job. Like any profession, there are definitely repetitive parts. You're going to be dealing with assessment notes, managing follow-up communications, and honestly, you'll probably be explaining the exact same overheating issues clearly to different people day in and day out. But look at the rewarding side of this. This work is highly topical right now. You are having a real, measurable impact on human health. You are directly helping vulnerable households survive extreme conditions, and you're stepping into a field with really clear, rapid career progression into broader ventilation advisory and housing quality roles. So who exactly is this role actually for? Well, the fantastic news is that it suits a huge array of backgrounds. Whether you're already working in ventilation, housing, retrofit, or the environmental sector, your skills are going to translate perfectly. But equally, if you have a strong background in customer service or admin, your ability to communicate and organize is just as valuable. This role is open to people of literally any age, and career transitioners are heavily welcomed. If you care about people and want to make a real, tangible difference, there is 100% a place for you here. And to make sure that this vital training is as accessible as humanly possible, the course to become an advisor is incredibly innovative. It's a voice-first interactive learning experience that is fully available in over 100 languages. That means language barriers are completely smashed, allowing communities from all backgrounds to train their very own experts and provide this life-saving advice to their neighbors in their native tongues. So here is an incredible opportunity for you to start this highly impactful career path today. The full course, complete with a completion certificate, is available right now inside LELAIL. All you have to do is ask LELAIL, start the Summer Ventilation and Home Cooling Advisor course. You can access the whole shebang, this interactive voice-first course in over 100 languages, just by visiting leilai.com. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on today. As our homes grow hotter and the climate crisis deepens, what role will you play to ensure that absolutely no one is left behind?